Oh, I have several very fond experiences of my life at IIT Kanpur. Um, for me, IIT Kanpur was a place to explore myself as a person, not just in in academics. I did not, to be honest, I did not focus that much on academics, but I focused a lot more on um, on other stuff. And for, for, for instance, I used to be very passionate about cricket. Even now I am. And um, I remember being I don't think I would have I used to miss any single cricket match in the TV room. I have very fond memories of, for instance, sitting there in the TV room and watching India, win the Hero Cup. In the this happened in Hall One. Um, in Hall Two, one of the memories that one of my fondest memories is when we used to in Hall Two we used to have uh, what then was called fatta cricket. I don't know whether it happens till now, which is you basically play with a tennis ball. And it used to be the ground behind A top, behind the A wing is in Hall 2 is where actually it used to be held. That group of mine actually is still very special. My wingmates. The way I interact with that group, I don't interact with anybody else. Another important memory for me is uh, the Vijay Kelkar lecture used to be held, but Arun Shori had come to deliver the Vijay Kelkar lecture. When I was there, and it so happened that I was part of the group then that got to interact with him, and significantly, and that actually played a critical role in me, um, in sort of thinking about what I wanted to do in life. So there are many memories. I think by far what IIT Kanpur, you know, one of my key lessons was that, um, I I come from a pretty humble background, and coming from from a town that was not very well known, and I actually didn't come from the usual schools that Bhilai is known for. I was in fact the first person from my school to make it to IIT. So in that sense, I think coming to IIT, and then for me, the time when I chose to actually concentrate on my studies, when I decided that I wanted to be serious in a particular semester, I was able to do incredibly well. But I ended up picking a lot more in terms of not just in academics, but more. I just grew as a person, enormously at IIT Kanpur, and I think the extracurricular parts also gave me added a lot to my personality. I think, and so it's a journey that I actually look back very fondly. I think when I look back at my career, for me, I think going to IIT Kanpur was a seminal moment in my life. For me, I guess, deciding to go to IIT was more of a bhed chal, in the sense that I was good at maths. I wanted to get into engineering, therefore, and then I came to know about IIT when I was in the in class 11. Only I came to know that IIT is the best engineering institution out there. So, doing well in the JE, and then getting an opportunity to go to a place where I had sort of seen many people before go, I think was just a dream come true. But then once I reached, and once I started studying, I found that I was not that interested in electrical engineering or engineering for that matter, to be honest. And I was very good at mathematics, and I also had, in terms of my personality, in terms of my skills of communication, my articulation skills, etc., where I was very good at that. So the combination of having very good analytical skills, and especially in mathematics, combining with that, I think good interpersonal skills, articulation skills, I thought that. And of course there was some guidance as well I got from some of the professors whom I interacted with, helped me decide that finance would be a good area to go into, because finance is something that involves a lot of mathematics. And because finance is in the area of business, it also it's an area where my strength of being able to communicate very well would also come into play. So I think it was more in terms of areas where my strengths would help. That's how I went into to do an MBA in finance at IIM Calcutta. And then once I started working for a couple of years, I then realized that actually it's the world of ideas. That's what fascinates me the most. Thinking freshly, thinking rigorously about stuff, about thinking about ideas, thinking deeply about things, is what really fascinates me. To sort of take a simplistic characterization, there are people who like to think, and there are people who like to do. I have always thought of myself as someone who likes to think. While I don't run away from doing things, I in the current role, for instance, some of it is involved, but what fascinates me the most is actually thinking deeply about matters. And that's why scholarship is something that attracted me, and that's how I ended up going into economics and a PhD in economics. I think there are two aspects that stand out for me. Firstly, I think in terms of the quality of peers that I encountered, and in terms of learning from my peers, and I think my peers pushing me to higher horizons. I thought the two places that really helped me the most were IIT Kanpur and the University of Chicago, Booth School of Business, University of Chicago in general. Those were the two places that, in different ways, really helped me to sort of um, really where my peers were ones that I could learn enormously from, and at the same time also their aspiration levels itself actually made me aspire even more. I think the fact that these two bookended my educational journey, I think, is just maybe fortuitous. So at a young age, when I was still sort of very very young, 18, 19, to be at IIT Kanpur, learn about, and as I said, to be among a very very select group of people who and in electrical engineering in particular, there it's you had to have a top 200 rank in the JEE to be part of electrical engineering at IIT Kanpur then. So I think being part of such a group, and I think I learned a lot from there. And then once I went to the University of Chicago, my horizons just expanded enormously, in terms of for instance, University of Chicago is one place where is a university which has more Nobel laureates than all other countries except for the United States put together. And by the last count, I've had the opportunity to learn from about 8 or 9 Nobel laureates, and as time goes by, some of those who have taught me will also win the Nobel Prize, and this count will increase. So I think that opened up a, a dimension that is, I think, that was very different, because once I studied at the University of Chicago, it was very clear to me that I did not want to spend my life just making money, for instance. To me, after going to the university, studying at the University of Chicago, and seeing all these really passionate individuals who wanted to make a difference to society, from there I took away that if your only ambition in life is to be rich, it shows an extreme poverty of ambition. I think that to me was a huge learning in terms of what I wanted to do in life. Um, I wanted to derive that satisfaction of having contributed to society, which is what I used to see so many of the of people at the University of Chicago, do and aspire to. I mean, now the how people used to be regarded at a place like the University of Chicago is in terms of the impact that you've had. Nobody cared, about who has how much bank balance, etc. That was trivial. But what was more important was how much impact did a person have on society through his or her ideas. I think that I just found um, incredibly appealing, and I think so in that sense, both these places really taught me a lot in terms of my own, and helped me sort of, I think, have very clear goals in life and what I wanted to do. In terms of the education system, I think what the US universities, especially the top US universities, do very well is to do a focus on cutting edge research. I think that's something which is, while India is developing, but we really need to sort of get to that level. The ability to read the papers of people who are actually contributing to the cutting edge of knowledge then and there, and those, I think, and then learn from them is, I think, phenomenal. For instance, I'll use an expression that my advisor, when I had just joined, had mentioned, that one of the best aspects of being at a place like the University of Chicago is that you see greatness in flesh and blood. And when you see greatness in flesh and blood, you can start believing that you can be one among them as well. I think research, basically, I would say there's one area that we need to really be as good as the look to be as good as the best in the world in research. And that's where there is no paucity of, in terms of talent, in terms of ability in our institutions, but it's that it's the exposure, it's that hunger, I think, to be the best. I think that's what we really need to mimic. India's approach to this pandemic has been a humane one, which has been based on this fundamental principle that GDP growth will come back, and it is indeed coming back now, but human lives that are lost cannot come back. This is a fundamental premise, which basically has led to our humane policy. What a lockdown actually does is, if you're plotting, let's say, the number of cases across time, on the y-axis you're plotting the cases, and the slope captures how quickly you're going to reach the peak. What a lockdown does, it does two things. One, it pushes that curve actually to the right, so you get time, basically. Second, the pace of spread also, actually the slope can be impacted. Why? Because when you get time to build up your testing infrastructure, and without having the testing infrastructure, you cannot quarantine people. If you cannot quarantine people, you cannot actually break down the spread of the virus. You cannot stop it. So the testing infrastructures do not get developed overnight. You need time to develop that, number one. The second point is health infrastructure, which also takes time for it to be built up. If the testing infrastructure had not been built up, we would have had 50-60,000 cases by the month of April itself, and then that would have basically exponentially built up. and the cases would have been, would have grown many orders of magnitude. So you take the number of deaths and you take the number of cases. Look at the number of deaths that India has had on a per capita basis compared to the other countries. The number of deaths are an order of magnitude lower on a per capita basis than other countries. Okay, that we've been able to actually reduce deaths far more by giving us time to build up the health infrastructure, the testing infrastructure. And now, if you look at the economy itself during the unlock phase, now the manufacturing sector, it's been a complete V-shaped recovery, with the manufacturing sector output actually, being not only at pre-COVID levels, but even compared to the last year's levels, it's almost reached the same levels, and in some areas is more than last year's levels, which basically is evidence of what I said, of the essential principle that GDP growth will come back, but human lives that are lost will not come back. So the most important message that I want, all IIT Kanpur students to remember is how privileged you are, and with privilege comes responsibility, and therefore the best way to capture that is a very fond shloka of mine from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, shloka 21. Yat acharati shreshtatah tat tat evetaro janah sayat pramanam kurute lokas tad anuvartate. Yat yat acharati shreshtatah. Shresht, as I already said, you all are privileged, you are the Shresht. Yad yat acharati shreshtatah, the way you behave, your acharan, yad yat acharati shreshtatah, the way you behave, tat tat evetaro janaha. That's how people basically who look up to you will behave. They look at your behavior and they'll follow you. Sayat pramanam kurute, not just saying, in your mouth, with your mouth, oh, I behave very well, but you have actual proof of behavior. Praman, Hindi word praman is basically proof. Sayat pramanam kurute lokas tad anuvartate. So that's the most important message that I want to give you. Realize your privilege, and therefore also be conscious of your responsibility, the responsibility to the nation, responsibility to the society, and therefore contribute. As I was saying earlier as well, if your only objective in life is to become rich, it shows an enormous poverty of ambition.